I'm going to describe a car, and then you're going to say which car comes to mind. It has 4 doors, a powerful twin turbocharged 6-cylinder engine, big wheels and tires, a track-ready sport suspension, and the obligatory quartet of tailpipes. If you said the BMW M3, you'd be absolutely wrong. This is the Cadillac ATS-V, a car Cadillac is hoping consumers will cross-shop with the M3. You know what they say, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But is this just an imitation? Or, as I suspect, is the Cadillac ATS-V actually better than the BMW M3? Let's find out in the mountain roads of Angeles Crest National Forest. From the very beginning, the BMW M3 defined and continues to define the sports sedan segment. It's the benchmark in its class, so naturally, it's the benchmark to which the ATS-V must be compared. The M3 has always been described as a driver's car. It offered an engaging driving experience with sharp steering, a stout engine, agile handling, and practicality to match. However, the current M3, known internally as the F80, it's a bit different. It's seemingly given up that engaging drive in pursuit of the numbers and the stats. Horsepower figures, 0 to 60 claims, interior volume, all of these things seem to dictate what the BMW M3's become. However, at the expense of all this, it's become numb. The steering is numb, the ride quality is numbing, and the engine, well, that sounds numb too. It's as if it's all been given a big dollop of Novocaine. Don't get me wrong, the M3 isn't a snooze fest. In fact, it's the fastest M3 ever and by a large margin. However, in pursuing the objective performance that wows those stat nerds, BMW's lost that special subjective wow factor that made older M3 models so good and so revered among car enthusiasts. This brings up the crucial question: in chasing the BMW M3, has Cadillac followed the same footsteps? No, they haven't, and praise be to the Cadillac gods for that. Objectively, the Cadillac ATS-V is a very fast car. 464 horsepower and 445 pound-foot of torque from its twin-turbocharged 3.6-liter LF4 V6 engine takes care of that. And for those keeping track, that's a healthy 39 horsepower and 35 pound-foot advantage over the Bimmer. Cadillac isn't blind to the fact that, to an extent, cool facts and figures do help sell cars. So a 4-second 0 to 60 sprint easily matches the M3. Likewise, my very well-calibrated butt dyno says this thing is easily running mid-12-second passes down the quarter mile. It's no slouch. So that's the objective taken care of. But what about the subjective? That LF4 engine sounds, and to me it feels better than the often derided S55 engine in the BMW. Though, with a red line of just 6,500 RPM, the Caddy does seem a bit shortchanged over the 7,500 revs the Bimmer can spin up to. I say this because it's especially noticeable because of how hard that car pulls right up to the rev limit, and it feels like it wants another 500 revs to play with. Peak horsepower is quoted at 5,850 RPM, but the power curve is delightfully deceiving. And the ATS-V is more than just an engine, too. The Tremec TR6060 6-speed manual transmission is a joy to operate. It's smooth, precise, and able to be shifted very quickly and very hard. Oh, and did I mention the Cadillac has no lift shift programmed into it? Are you ready? I'll do a voiceover to explain how it works, but just watch. So I'm going to keep my foot flat to the floor. Yep. Keep your right foot flat to the floor on full throttle upshifts, and the ATS-V will keep those turbos on boil between the gear changes. It works perfectly every time. So this car does have active rev match. So you put it in gear, it'll rev match for you, say if you want to go from third to second. And it works really well, but I still prefer doing it myself working the pedals. The MagneRide adaptive suspension, likewise, is a total triumph and makes the Cadillac one of the best riding street cars I've ever experienced. I cannot stress how well implemented it is here, other than to say that it redefines what it means to ride like a Cadillac. It's really amazing. Those sweet MagneRide shocks, in combination with things like bigger sway bars and stiffer bushings, and obviously the big fat tires measuring 255/35/18 up front and 275/35/18 out back, means that the ATS-V has a ton of grip, and it's very poised at all times. You always know what the car is doing. It's very neutral in its balance, which is nice. It's very easy to drive it quickly. It'll understeer if you push the front tires too hard, and it'll oversteer if you push the rear tires too hard. It's really gradual and easy to handle. Oh yeah, and the big brakes work great, all the time. This is coming from a guy who earned the nickname No Brake Jake after killing so many brakes in so many different cars. Good job, Cadillac. As far as driving dynamics go, the ATS-V is the new benchmark. It's sharper, more agile, and dynamically superior to the BMW M3. Cadillac just got the fundamentals so right with this car, it's unbelievable. This is one of the best driver's cars at any price point. And it's truly incredible that with their first effort, Cadillac nailed the dynamics of the ATS-V right out of the box. But not everything's perfect in Cadillac land. Let's talk about the interior. Well, to be fair, the optional Recaro front buckets, they look amazing, they feel amazing, and they're so supportive. Interior materials are kind of a mixed bag. Cadillac definitely got the touch points right. There's plenty of lovely Alcantara pieces like the seat inserts, steering wheel, and shift knob. It make the ATS-V feel truly premium. However, there are also some equally cheap and scratchy plastics. Then, there's Q. The Cadillac user experience is universally loathed by everyone who tries it, and for good reason. The ATS-V's entire infotainment system is controlled by Q, which is bad, really bad. The buttons aren't actual buttons, instead they're capacitive touch pieces. My fingers continually slipped out the buttons, or at the very least, Q didn't register my inputs half the time. Then there's the whole problem of because there are no hard buttons or knobs to play with, you have to look away from the road to make sure you're pressing what you want to press. There's no feedback or differentiation, so you get it mixed up all the time. It's a pain to navigate Q, and I would say it's borderline dangerous to do so while driving. I would say that the system needs to be scrapped, but apparently even Q knows this because of how often it would sabotage itself. I had several instances where the Q would completely black out, and the only thing I could do to fix it would be to stop the car, turn it off, and turn it back on. It's a disaster. It's terrible. It's a massive blemish on what is otherwise one of the best cars I've ever experienced, ever. As much as I love the Cadillac ATS-V, I can look beyond Q, but there's one big problem with the ATS-V that I just can't look past. During my week with the V, the number one question I got was, does it have the LT1 V8 in it? The LF4 is a great engine, but GM's unique selling proposition has always been the small block V8, and the new LT1 is such a great engine. Also, the power outputs can't be a coincidence. The LF4 and LT1 make virtually identical power and torque figures. I mean, come on. Cadillac designed the LF4 as a bespoke engine for the ATS-V. No other GM product uses this engine, and it's damn good. But part of me, the part that's driven V8 powered GMs, just wants a V8 in this chassis. I understand why Cadillac went with the boosted V6, but the thought of an LT1 swapped ATS-V still lingers in the back of my head. Cadillac, you know what to do. Now, you just have to do it.
When it does eventually step out, it's never a surprise. Some surprises are fun surprises, but in the canyon roads, that's not a fun surprise. I'm not pushing that hard in a straight line because I already have enough points on my license and I really couldn't take much more. Because driving cars like this, you will very quickly accrue more points on your license if you don't already have a bunch. But even at this pace, God, the car is so fun to drive. If this was my daily commute in this car, I'd be the happiest boy on earth. That's for damn sure. Oh my goodness, bicyclists everywhere. This is why you come here at 6:30 in the morning. Update in the ATS-V, we're still stuck behind these bicyclists. I think this Ford Explorer is part of their team, so I see a bicycle in the back of it too, and I think he's effectively blocking traffic so that they can ride their little bicycles down the road and not get past. I don't understand what the big deal is about letting us pass. But that's the update. We're still back here. It's awful. Well, let me take it back. We're in the V, which is great. That makes this so much more tolerable. If I was in a more regular car, I'd be livid right now. Actually, if I was in one of my personal vehicles, I'd probably just do something illegal and go past all of them, tell them, and give them a gesture of sorts that you give to people like this who clog up a 45-mile-an-hour road. But no, we're in Cadillac's car, and we're gonna behave in a Cadillac-like fashion. So we're gonna be gentlemen and not give them the obscene gestures that they really deserve. Like a lot. I think we still have about 3 or 4 miles of the trail left, and at this rate, we should be down at the base by, it's 10:59 now, by tomorrow. We'll be done with this trail by tomorrow. If you look behind us, which you can't because the GoPro's mounted inside the car, and I'm not taking that off, there's quite a train of cars behind us, and they're all wondering the same thing. Why the hell is this Explorer blocking all of traffic? Just let us around the cyclists. We're fine. They're adults. They can ride the bicycle, we can go around the bicycle, and then everything's fine. When you block traffic like this, you become public enemy number 1. You big dickheads. Like I said earlier in the video, I always share the road. I drive with a personal conduct that I feel is responsible given the conditions. And so when I see things like this, just an obvious affront to everyone else where you only care about yourself, holding up traffic, I just want to say one thing. Go f*** yourselves!